advice to offer. So we're going to go into a round of revising those guidelines and accepting it as our mission, the stewards of the IP system, to lend clarity underneath the Supreme Court's principles that they put out. So you'll see more guidance coming out through our guideline process. You'll also see the PTO, USPTO, putting out board decisions that help to advance what we think are sensible implementations of the Bilski case. And many of those board decisions then we will expect to get appealed back into the federal circuit. And our goal through that process is to quickly build up a body of implementing law underneath the Supreme Court's decision.
Okay, thank you. I quickly want to get some comments on today's event as well, because I'm doing a news piece on,
sure, very exciting.
Exposition,
yeah.
As exciting as it
yeah.
was and as fun as it was.
Yes.
You joked about calling the USPTO the USTPO
yes.
this morning. Do you often find that trademarks play second fiddle to patent, and there's enough emphasis on trademarks? Is it seen as important as patents for businesses and for the economy
yeah.
in general?
So yes, so I from time to time do refer to our agency as the United States Trademark and Patent Office, the USTPO. Trademarks incredibly important. Especially in a fast, globalizing commercial environment where every brand can get instant global recognition through the internet. Every new product name can be seen and frequently is seen on a global basis. So whereas our legal system, it remains jurisdictional or territorial in nature, our commercial system has become decidedly global. And what bridges that gap is trademark. Incredibly important, increasingly important in the 21st century. Now, we do have the phenomenon that I like to refer to as the squeaky wheel situation. And what I mean by that is that while in the patent part of the USPTO, we have big backlogs, as I mentioned, 700,000 applications, plenty of huge challenges. The part of our agency that has worked well over the recent years because of the leadership of Commissioner Beresford is the trademark part of our agency. So the trademark folks do not have a big backlog. And in fact, the time it takes from when you file a trademark application to when you get a first office action is on optimal period of time. It's between 2 and 3 months, which is the optimal response time, as has been indicated to us by the applicant community. The time that it takes to get a final action to register your trademark, I believe it's about 13 months, optimal. So our trademark office is a part of the agency that is, as I say, dialed in, that is on the numbers, that is performing extremely well. And so as a result, right, as a leader, right, of course, we're impelled to spend our time on problems. And we spend most of our time and most of our energy dealing with the things that are problems, which in the case of the USTPO is the patent part of the agency, and as a result, the part of the agency that's working well just inherently does not get as much of a day's worth of attention as the other part.
Right.
But I often talk to the trademark team and remind them that's a good thing. When you're being when you're not getting constant attention from senior leadership, that's actually a good thing. It means you're doing your job extraordinarily well.
Right. Okay, thank you. You mentioned briefly that the trademarks, the importance of trademarks is increasing in the global economy. I think one of the challenges of the global economy is the issue of counterfeits that come in from countries like China and other areas. What kind of work does the USPTO do to kind of help fight against counterfeits?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question. So we are very concerned about the problem with counterfeiting, whether you're talking about consumer products, where what's happening then is that legitimate innovators and providers of quality merchandise are having their products frankly stolen, ripped off, right, by illegitimate sources. We're not at all happy about that. Worse yet still is a situation where you've got products that involve issues where human health and safety can be brought into jeopardy, and we don't like that either. And similarly terrible are cases where the whole product is dependent on intellectual property protection, such as works of fine art, cinematic productions, music, where when piracy occurs, it's not just some of the value that goes away and is stolen, it's the entire value that gets stolen. And we think all of that is repugnant, frankly. It's illegal. Yeah. Now, what are we doing about it? So the USPTO supports other agencies in the United States federal government, the Department of Justice, Department of Homeland Security, Customs and Border Protection, et cetera, in presenting programs to our own authorities as well as like authorities from other countries who we train in their countries and we bring here to the USPTO to train. We have a very nice facility called the Global Intellectual Property Academy, GIPA, right here on our campus, where we bring in customs and border officials and law enforcement officials from all over the world continuously, judges present programs to them. We put on programs in their countries for their officials all over the world, training them on intellectually important.
What are some of the biggest challenges that the USPTO is facing, and you as Undersecretary of Commerce for IP?
Well, backlog. We really have to work on that. We're going to continue to work on quality also. We put out new quality metrics, some of which were inspired by good quality work done in the EPO. We're now guiding more accurately on quality. We're going to watch that and improve our quality very earnestly. We're going to continue to work with other major offices, the EPO, the JPO, KIPO in Korea, SIPO in China, and continue to invest in those kinds of global projects.
Okay, and what do you hope to have achieved by the end of your tenure as Director of the USPTO?
Well, I would love to have that backlog under control. Yeah, there's an optimal level of inventory, which is about 325,000 applications in the agency. So we don't have to take it to zero. In fact, you don't want to take it to zero, but you want to have an appropriate inventory. So I'd love to have an appropriate inventory, improved quality, and an agency that is facing forward and ready to attack the intellectual property challenges of the whole world this century.
Okay. And lastly, what inspires you outside of IP? What is life like for you besides intellectual property?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because this does tend to be a little bit of a 24/7 job. But I certainly do enjoy spending time with family and friends, outside the agency.
And then your sort of early interest of electrical engineering, is that still something that's important to you?
I don't really have time these days to get into much engineering work, but I have to admit, I can't help it but get my hands dirty when the folks come in with information technology and issues here, because that's an industry that I'm very...
Once a nerd, always a nerd.
That's right. I am a card-carrying, plastic pocket liner, number 3 mechanical lead pencil carrying nerd.
Excellent. Well, that's it. Thank you for your time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if it overran.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So thank you
Thanks.
so much
Thanks for coming by.
well, so.
You bet. Okay.
I'm glad you had the
Good luck with Lynn.
The reason